If this episode hits home, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with a woman in your life who needs to hear she's already enough. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an unfiltered conversation on what it really means to rewrite your life in your 30s. And if you've got a story to tell or want to be a guest on the show, DM me on Instagram or TikTok at 𝗧𝗜𝗗𝗘 or email me at 𝗧𝗜𝗗𝗘𝗢@gmail.com. Your story matters, and someone out there needs to hear it. Now, here is episode 3 of Screw the Script podcast. Welcome back to Screw the Script, the podcast where we throw out the rulebook and get real about the wild ride of womanhood in our 30s. Today, I am so excited to speak with this beautiful soul. We're talking about the script in your head that whispers you're not good enough, even when you know you deserve that seat at the table. We're talking about imposter syndrome, that thing that creeps in quietly, even when you're winning, the doubt behind the degrees, the promotions, the accomplishments, the feeling that at any moment someone's going to say you don't belong here or they've figured you out. In this episode, we're going to take a deeper look where imposter syndrome hides, how it shows up in work, relationships, even in our lives, and what it takes to start rewriting that script. Because you didn't just get here by luck, you belong here. And so we start. How are you feeling today?
It's so funny the fact that we have agreed that we will be doing this podcast, but still, I still don't know how to introduce myself. So I went into ChatGPT, my dear friend, talk about signs of imposter syndrome. And I asked him, can you write a prescription about me based on your history?
Well, let's start out with your script when it comes to imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome is when someone comes to you, like I'll give you an example. Last week, I got recognized by a very known organization for being a leader, a woman leader. And when I got the email, I emailed it back, is this a scam? I did. They were like, no, no, it's not a scam. I'm like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I think I should talk to the PR at work. So what I did, they're like, yeah, don't worry. I'm like, is there going to be any talking? Because if there's going to be any talking, I'm not going to talk. They're like, why? You're like a cheaper. And I'm like, I just can't talk. I went and I searched for the organization name, talked to an executive there. They're like, no, that's not a scam. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, why was that the first thought?
Because the thing is, usually, when you hear people taking recognition in areas, for example, in my areas in construction innovation, they might either apply or either this was both or for me, it was on who the hell's my name? You know what I mean? This is not the worst part. The worst part is coming to everyone's congratulating me. What did you do? I'm like, I don't know. I just got an email. They said, provide me pictures. That's it. Imagine.
I think oftentimes we, as women, especially in traditionally male dominated field expertise, we doubt that how could this be? Is this real? You've interacted with countless people in your career, of course, and the fact that someone could think so highly of you to potentially nominate you, that speaks to the person that you are to question, is it really real? Like that to me,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I totally agree with you because, living in a culture that I think goes across, it's not only in the Eastern world, it's all over. Like when you're a female, unless you do double the task that men are doing, or you'll be like look under. But anyways, they will look under to you because you're a female and you looking young, even worse, you know what I mean? And you like having my goofy personality. Like I like things to be simple. I like to put people together because at the end of the day, I'm leading people. And yes, you can be strict, but you can be firm, but not bossy. So like one of the things that it's not acceptable in men dominant society.
I wanted to ask what you said about having that initial thought of this can't be true. Can you think back? Maybe it was before you were in your 30s that you doubted yourself, or you just felt like I have to work so hard and I still don't feel like I'm getting to where I need to be.
This is something I think about on a daily basis. So when you have imposter syndrome, you always think that you're less than everyone else and you got everything by chance or by coincidence. Although everyone's like, you did this. And you're like, me? No. And I would think of a couple of interaction. I think even back days when you used to work with oil and gas, when I started emailing people, they would refer to me as Mr., not Miss.
Yes.
And when they come, they ask me for tea or coffee, thinking that I'm the sweet secretary. And when they know that I am Mr. Their jaw just drops,
Right.
And they're like, apology. I'm like, why are you apologizing? It's fine. I don't care, to be honest. So this is one incident. The second incident, I was working in an oil and gas company that we used to do contracting for oil and gas. And I was the only girl for like 2 years. 4,000 employees. Imagine every time I want to even go into the elevator itself, people like run away from me. It's like how I have a contagious disease. And then this is something that I've solved. And it's funny if I tell you how I solved it. People will like avoid me because I was the only female. You'll imagine working in a 4,000 employee men dominated, you're the only female.
Yeah.
And you look the way that I look at you've seen.
By the way, she's
Thank you
gorgeous.
so much. Everyone was like without you, but this is the way that I fix this is so funny. And I always say it whenever I hear girls victimizing themselves. I'm like, no, men are simple. I just started bringing food from the house.
Yeah.
I bringing lunch every day. And by the way, my mom cooks amazingly. So I started feeding them. In the beginning, they're like, oh, who is she? Why is she talking to me? Oh my God. And then like all of a sudden I became everyone's best friend to the point that after 2 years, when a second girl joined, they came and told me, oh, now we have ladies in their company. I'm like, what about me? You're like, yeah, now you're one of the dudes. So it takes a while to break the ice with men. Yes, but it's easy. But I don't think it's the men that cause the imposter syndrome. I think the imposter syndrome it's a cultural thing, Crystal. It's the expectations. It's the success criteria that's been put for women. It's our expiry day,
Yes.
our point being here, the way that women are being subjectified in the media. So funny. 2 days ago, one plastic surgeon been asked, "Does all women need plastic surgery?" He said, "Definitely, 99% of my visits need a plastic surgery." You know what I mean? So all these, when you talk cultural, they're expected that you have kids. When you talk about your own aspirations for yourself, for example, you wanted to work and prove yourself, but then even if you do something, you need to double do the work because you'd never be in the man's group. You never blend in. If you blend in too much, then you are the office siren. If you don't blend in, that you're the office Karen. Like, where do I stand? If you complain, for example, if you have kids, for example, and you complain like I just did because I was with my kids, no one sympathizes with you. Everyone sees you as a burden to the workforce. That's why I'm very thankful of Saudi Arabia because in Saudi Arabia, there's rules that protect women against that bias. There's things that you can prove in writing or in action, and there's things that you cannot prove. For example, when I got engaged 2 years back, all of a sudden I see myself like I was on top, and then they brought a manager on top of me. Okay, I'm getting engaged. I'm not getting cancer.
Make sure she stays focused.
Exactly.
It's interesting that you say that because even marking like those criteria that you mentioned, it kind of ties back to these scripts that society or even just like it's curated. And then you in that example at work, you kind of feeding into the script, but like having the script work for you as well.
Just can't. The most honest, let's say, confession slash thing that I've seen. I don't remember who said it. It was in one of the universities. And one lady came up the stage and she was giving the lecture before handing out the certificates. And she was like, they asked me, how are you doing all this together? How you're a mom and you're a doctor, you etc. She's like, the honest answer is, I am not good in all areas because we're only human. You cannot be perfect in all areas. This is just no way. It's not even reasonable. Men usually, when women give birth or get married, they act supportive, but not that supportive that you can rely on. And things are changed since, let's say, 30 years ago. Women can stay at home and depend on a man. But now we can't because the cost of living is high. You as a mother, I'm not a mother, but you as a mother, you're expected to have the best for your kids. So you have to go to work or you have to have idle. So you can feed your kids the best food, take them to the best schools, get them the best toys, not make them feel less than their peers, right?
Yeah.
So imagine all these judgments casted on you. And even as a single woman, if I stay at home, then I'm a spoiled daughter. If I go out and I live in another country, like in my case, I'm living alone and it's in Saudi Arabia, it's like, oh my, she must be very liberated. No, I'm not. I just have to be here because the work is here. So all these prejudgments, plus in my case, being neurodivergent, you're already being judged all your life. And you've always been an overachiever because you want to please everyone around you. So we tend to question ourselves, question our belonging to this place. If you ask me, like having a scholarship from top league school, I started being shy talking about it to that point. They asked me, so tell us about yourself. I'm like, for me, it's the most, let's say, intimidating question, even in interviews.
Really?
Yeah.
You've accomplished so much in your life and career. Going back to the element of perfectionism and self-doubt and being like having that imposter syndrome, why as women, we don't take pride in our achievements or, kind of showing it off in a way?
Because if you show it off, then you're intimidating men. And being local and with all this movement for strengthening women in the country makes men intimidated by you and make foreigners even more intimidated that you're going to take their place. So what they do is basically they hide information from you to put you in a weak spot. That's one, for example. The second thing, they will give you those looks like
Big question, even if you're telling
exactly.
the truth. And it's like, do you want to see my do you want to see my birth certificate?
Yeah, yeah. Like for me, to be honest, I don't want to come across as cocky. Or most of the men, when a simple introduction during a meeting, I swear to you, I sit down for 15 minutes hearing his life story over and over and over again. And I'm like, dude, for God's sake, like, where did you went to school? Where did you? And it's all like all mediocre.
Yeah, no one
And
would have shut them down with saying where your credentials.
yeah.
Oh, you're trying to show me up now.
Yeah, and working in a men dominant environment gives you this feeling that if you show up, you're going to get hurt. If you don't show up, you're going to get hurt, but less because they're going to basically make you do all the work and take it away from you and put it under their name. But at least it doesn't hurt as much as coming straight at you. Not a lot of women that support other women. That's also unfortunate.
I mean, competition in general, I'm a firm believer of that just because I am competitive by nature. I do think, however, there is space for everyone because even though we all deal with very similar things, I think there's a lot of uniqueness in us. So there's place for everyone if they choose to show up.
Yeah, tell back to women, culturally or personally, have you felt pressure to overachieve? Yes, of course, all the time. Because I failed in the department of marriage. So I need to be an overachiever in the department of working.
Why do you see that as a failure?
During my engagement, I didn't see that the guy was the guy for me. So I asked for a divorce. So in the eyes of society, this is a failure. So when I discussed with my parents, they were on board with me. Again, for example, my mom's like, don't tell your aunts, don't tell anyone that you got separated. I'm like, yeah, what about if they asked about him? Where is he? Like, yeah, then tell them it didn't work. So that could show you that you failed. It's an embarrassing thing.
But it's interesting that from a cultural standpoint, I'm not from the Middle East, but being from the Jamaican culture, it's oftentimes you don't admit mistake. For me, I don't see it as a failure. It's just more of a match that didn't make sense for you to grow. It wasn't a situation that you could grow and exceed in. And oftentimes in the culture that I was raised in, if you made a mistake or like it wasn't in favor, then you don't talk about it. So then the overcompensation to overachieve in something else so that it takes away from the distraction of what you failed in, that's what you do. But then, or like at least I did, I programmed myself to just make sure that I was not perfect in everything, but I tried my absolute best at everything.
Why are you an overachiever, Crystal?
I think it's a defense mechanism that I developed as a child. Both my parents are divorced and my dad is a drug addict and an alcoholic. And so my mom exposed that to me. And I, being a child, like you can't hide everything from children. So I was exposed to the consequences of having a parent in that state. And so I felt that if I could do really well in school, make sure that at least that side of her life wasn't like she didn't have to work so hard at it. I pretty much told her, these are the schools that I'm going to apply to for university. I've already worked with the teachers to send the application. So she really didn't have to do much with me as far as school and like as a child, because I used that as, okay, there's so much crap going on in our household. Let me make sure that I exceed. And also, she expected so much she was very, very strict. And she would even, okay, don't come home if you don't have over an A. So it was more a combination of fear and, I think, yeah, just a defense mechanism.
First of all, I'm so sorry to hear that. Second of all, I'm so proud of you because it's not easy to have a strong mentality to do those achievements, because such things can affect your focus and it can cause a lot of anxiety and a lot of PTSD. I'm so proud of you, to be honest, that you're an overachiever. But in the same time, I feel bad for you because I think at this stage in your life, you're kind of like burn. I think I'm in the same boat, but in a different way. For me, it's like since I was young, my mom wishes for me was to get married, have kids, and I didn't. For me, I wanted to be a businesswoman, to be honest. I never wanted to work. And even in school, I didn't do well. Now I'm doing well because now I know how to manage myself and my time and my expectations. That's why I'm all of a sudden a nerd, But I believe this creates more and more imposter syndrome, because as I grow older and have more attention, it feels like, oh, I don't belong here. Because sometimes, especially when, again, I'm not blaming being neurodivergent, but it's like, imagine you have a brain that has a lot of information, yeah? And the time you need those information, you're nothing. For example, oil and gas, how do they dig the oil? I know the whole thing. I work from cold tubing to whatever. But like in the time that I need it, I'm like, so you know what I mean?
Drawing a blank.
Exactly. So that also can create for me kind of anxiety. So I'm like, okay, what if they ask me about the things that I already know and I go into the stage? I'm not gonna be like holding each and every one and say, oh, by the way, I have this and that. And so there's like, okay, so I don't know. You ask yourself, is this enough? Is this enough? Or I can do better. I think it's the hunger and the curiosity mixed together can make us feel imposter syndrome.
So say, for example, if you didn't have this drive, and I think about that sometimes for myself too. What if I just stopped and said, you know what, I'm good? I think that for me is more scary, that if I don't push, because I know, like for me, pushing as hard as I can to my limit or my max is my comfort. So like being an overachiever is comfortable for me.
Yeah, I feel you.
If I don't,
If you don't, you're like, okay, it's time to retire from life. I totally agree with you here.
it's almost like a neurological thing. It's a part of my brain that it's almost as if like I'm addicted to that. I thrive off of this feeling of like kind of like being in a pressure cooker, where it's like I put on so much of myself, but I know I can handle it. And that's what kind of keeps me going. Because if I don't, like say for example, I'm starting this podcast, right? It's not that I'm bored. I have kids. I have a full-time job. I'm getting my doctorate. I'm doing all these things. And I'm like, why not start something else? I'll start a podcast, And it's not like that's something that's a walk in the park. Like it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort and thought through process. And it's not that I didn't anticipate that. I had a feeling that it would take a lot of work, because I think being in the generation that we grew up, we grew up pre-internet.
Yeah.
So we know what it's like. And like even computers, like I remember some of my early reports, I had to use a typewriter. So we know what it's like to really push and do the work. So for me, having technology and a smartphone and all this just almost like multiplies the amount of work that I can do. So.
Oh my God, you just tapped the nail on its head. So I was about to say that. So for example, doing things so easy, seeing people around you complain about how hard things are, and you're like, yeah, but I did it so easy. And you're like, okay, am I an imposter here? I have this skill that comes like a package with my ADHD, is when I read the top and the bottom of a case, I'm synced in. Like I have a photographic memory, I guess. So I remember everything. I'm in a good mood. Oh my God, I'm going to answer all the questions and even challenge you. In university, they told me, can you stop participating in class? I'm like, because I know that. Despite having the imposter syndrome, I do have something that is very good, that I know that my brain cells, for example, it can be trained anyway, and knowledge is power. I remember one day I had to do a surgery and I was in the internet. I found that like a website that shows you medical reports, etc.
Yeah.
I was arguing with the doctor. He's like, all of a sudden, he's like, "Are you a doctor?" I'm like, "No, I just read," and he was shocked. So knowledge is power. And I think from your perspective, because I'm going to put it in my situation, for example, in our perspective, I believe because we push the boundaries and we push the envelope and we are let's say the ones that are going to break the curse, the family curse, because we're used to having, I call it this way, I have an allergy to my comfort zone. Okay. Yes. Yes. That's the word.
That is
Okay.
it.
Yes. I always say they're like, why do you put yourself through this? I'm like, I have allergy to my comfort zone now. I like to be in my comfort zone. Given this fact, Crystal, makes us, if we push the boundaries, for example, you with your podcast, you know that it's going to start hard, but with time, you're going to have this muscle memory or cell memory that things are going to come easy, going to be like secondhand. So because you know that's going to be hard at the beginning. Other people doesn't know that and they don't have the skill to learn or push their boundaries, and their brain is used to protecting them by putting them in the same place. So the other thing is, this is why we always push them, because we know it's going to start hard and then it's going to be easy. And we know that we're capable. So this is one. Two, it's because we're curious. We want to know if we reach there, what's going to happen? How it's going to feel? What's next? I can do that. Like, so when you have a strong imagination and you're a visionary person, it's easier because you can train your brain. And this is a skill not everyone can do that, to be honest. Not a lot of people that I came across that can do that.
Where do you think it came from for you to foster this? Because I know that for me, and I often think sometimes, like, who would I be if I didn't have my mom? She was so strict. And where do you think the imposter syndrome comes from? Like, is it from the perception of being a perfectionist? Do you think it's people pleasing? I don't even think of it as perfectionist because, like, I don't even know what the bar is for everyone else, but I know what the bar is for me. And so it's like I'm always fighting against whatever I set for my goal. So for me, it's not about being perfectionist. Like, the perception may be that, like, oh, Crystal, you're just a perfectionist, or you want to, like, do the best at everything. But I set the bar for myself. How does it show up for you?
So it's funny because today I got an assessment. So I recently got a scholarship from work to attend one of the top league schools in London. So they did for us. Thank you. So it's like congratulations. I'm like, well, I really deserve it. So
You deserve it. Round of
yeah.
applause.
So the report came that everywhere I have strength. Like I'm overqualified for the course itself. One of the things that that I should lower is my perfectionism. And it's like, how is that? So I'm talking to this coach, and she's like, yeah, you're too perfectionist. Sometimes it can cripple you down. My answer was, to be honest, this is not something I want to work on. And I'm saying this why, Crystal, because I came a long way. Do I still feel imposter syndrome? Hell yeah. But do I know how it feels and how I should react and blah, blah, blah? Yes, I do. I have more self awareness. So I told her, by the way, I understand that you're saying that, but no, because I am brought to set the standard high and leverage the standards. Not being brought to work and getting paid to lower the standard or work on the same standards, and where's the growth factor? So this is not something that I would love to work on. Me and her even struggled on which competencies to work on. Nevertheless, I'm going to tell you what I do, how to deal with inner script. I did have a strict mother as well. I used to come back from school, go to those learning classes till 8, 9 p.m. And my mom, thankfully, she's a tiger mother. Well, honestly speaking, I love her for that because since we were kids, for example, when computer came, she put us in a computer course. And I swear, I was like the youngest person there. And my mother, she's like, if they can do it, you can do it.
There was no limitation in your ability.
Exactly, exactly. For example, I wanted to be a lawyer because I had a high sense of justice. And my dad said, no way, you're not sitting with criminals. I'm like, yes, dad.
But there are types of law.
I try to convince 8 years old, that there is types of law. For him, everyone sits with the lawyer as a criminal. And my daughter cannot sit with criminals. But I took 2 masters, for example, and freestyle everything. Yeah, but I approximate for 2 weeks before that. Like I have something called the ADHD paralysis, where you're just sitting and everyone thinks that you're resting, but your mind is going left to right scenarios. I believe it comes my overachiever. acceptance from the fact that I've been always looked down upon. It's always my future was in the scenario of my parents. I would say to marry young, have kids, and be a trophy wife. But I failed them horribly.
You screwed that script.
Oh my God, I scored it left or right. Like, I scored it in a perfectionist way. I've always been a retaliate growing up, to be honest. If something I didn't like, I would come and speak up my mind. And I think that's a good thing in my family because they give you the safe space to talk, to negotiate, to articulate, but not good when you take it to the real world because the real world, you can't succeed unless you don't ask yourself, you know? And this is something that it's against what I've been brought up. I've been brought up that no, you need to have morals, you need to have dignity, you need to stand up to what you believe, and you should always never kiss us, lower yourself to anyone. So you need to always have this pride. And this is something that cannot, let's say, happen in the workplace, especially in the corporate place, because you need to be very political with people around. Nevertheless, I learned how to tone my tone, not to lower my pride, but like, let's say, to readjust the tone and be more diplomatic in my answers. But do I know how to tone it to get higher positions? Yes, I know. But why I don't do that? Because it's against my morals. I want to get something. I want to get something because I really worked on it. What else? I don't want it. Because you like me? No. I wouldn't accept that. Because the reason that I joined the workforce is to feel good about myself. It's not because of the money. Thank God I come from a well-off family. I don't need that. What I need is self-fulfillment. And that's the fact that I can see change happening because I help. But again, the whole syndrome started definitely from my insecurity and thinking that I'm being looked down to. And that's all I can do is just like marry and have kids.
Through your career, through your lifetime, you've been rewriting this script that your parents or your family or culture, society has pretty much wrote out for you. And as you continue, even in the Middle East, I don't know, are you first generation? I assume.
I am first generation to go to university, yes.
But do you think that shows up in your culture specific to our generation pre-internet?
So I'm a second child to a girl that is an A student. And I was so bored to be an A student. I was a C and D. I would fail in the first semester and barely make it in the second semester because I'm bored. And imagine having a sister and a brother that are A student and you're not. And this is when two. So everyone's like, okay, yeah. So my mom didn't go even to my parents' gathering at school because she was so embarrassed. You know, it's like they always say that you're naughty, you don't sit on your chair, la, 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 and your grades are not so good. I'm like, yeah, my grades are not so good because it's boring what they're giving to me. It's like below what I know. And you cannot argue. So with constant judgment, eventually it gets into you and it makes you feel like, okay, so maybe I am the problem, not them, not the society. I get from my mom that day, she's like, please don't talk about your work. Please don't talk about your achievements in front of your sibling. Stop saying that because it looks like you're bragging. So things like that, if your mother is telling you that, then what other people are thinking of. So it gets to you. I think it's the way that your parents and the way that they deal. Like, for example, if I tell them I got a scholarship, it's not as much as if my sister told them she's pregnant. That's a different thing. Or if I tell them come to my graduation, is different than come to the wedding or whatever. Like they never came to any of my graduation, only once. So, but although they are proud, to be honest, my mom, I feel that she's proud, very, but she never say it. She always worries that, so you didn't get married, who's going to take care of you? I'm like, when you get married, are you 100% sure that this man is going to be there for you forever? A. B, when you have kids, are you bringing them with a contract that they should take care of you?
Yeah, because sometimes they don't.
Exactly. Like most times they don't. So how is that this life security? And the contrary, I have strong friendships with people. I have people, alhamdulillah, that they like me a lot. And I'm coaching a lot of my friends. So to me, I think I'm doing well, but still the imposter syndrome kicks in, especially that I like to be myself. Meetings, I don't like to use the consultant language, although I did an acronym glossary because I saw that the new joiners are being intimidated when we bring consultants on board because they use big words. This is like how the consultants are. Right. So I was like handing out this glossary to them. They say this, it means, yeah, you know, if they say Candace, it means Riyadh. Don't worry. When they use those words, I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Yeah. I act stupid. So and I'm like, you could have said that. Why would you? So maybe because of that, maybe because of how I look. Again, I look young. My branding doesn't say this person is a nerd and is an achiever. The branding says she looks like a spoiled brat or an innocent child.
How do you work to rewrite that script? What do you do to remind yourself that you deserve everything that you get? Try not to have that self-doubt whenever you get acknowledged for your work or, your achievements, or even wanting to say your achievements out loud and proudly. How do you fight against your
Inner
inner
Yeah.
scripts?
So the first thing I would say is by praying to God. I do a lot of journaling. One thing that helped me a lot is writing every day 3 things that I'm grateful for. And this helped me rewire my subconscious. The third thing is I have a wonderful, definitely wonderful life coach called Julie Fuller. And she helped me a lot in that area. Julie basically told me when you go to work, just send people love. I imagine you're sending them love. I imagine everyone is working for your benefit. So that helped me a lot, to be honest. Again, I'm an empath. I pick up on people's energy. But when I send them love, it's like sending myself love. And we as human operate from two desires. It's either fear or love. And they cannot coexist. So when you send people love, you're sending yourself love. It's very weird. Like when I started doing that, I saw collaboration from people because when you smile and you imagine sending them love, they smile back.
It's
And
infectious, I call it. A smile is always infectious.
yes, it's infectious because when you smile, you show them palms of your hand, they feel less threatened by you. So they will be on board and they will support you even more. I try to remind myself, I have around me a lot of words that is encouraging words. I hang them different places in my house to remind myself. At the end of the day, do have imposter syndrome? Yes, I do. Again, I think it's also motivates me to do better.
Yeah.
It also pushes me to do better. That means because there's two types of people. There are followers and there are leaders. And those are who are leading, they should break the mold, and they should go beyond what other people are doing, are making. And that's why me, you, for example, we have this unexplained urge to push the envelope. That means that we are meant for that. This is in our destiny. I mean, this is at least what Julie Fuller is saying.
During COVID, like right before COVID, my husband and I broke up. And I, at that point in time, was feeling like I had so many like thoughts, and I would tell myself like really destructive things. And I was just mad at myself at like, how come I cannot get this right? Meaning like relationships, not just with him, but just also with my family too. And I actually saw a therapist at that time, and I saw a mindfulness coach. And the things that you do to challenge that inner script really resonated with me, because during that time, I used to write on my phone in the notes section. I would send myself voice messages. I would do daily gratitude meditation, and I would write down everything that I was feeling. And through this mindfulness coaching and also a combination with the therapy, like you were saying, like this mind shift change, like that was when I stopped having these negative spiraling thoughts, where it's like the thoughts that I was having was making me anxious.
Yeah, the best way to deal with that is mindfulness that my therapist taught me.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did, and that's what I'm saying. Like what you were saying really resonated with me, because that's exactly what I used to do, or what I did during that time period, and that really helped me to pretty much snap out of it.
I'll tell you another thing that is helping me that I'm doing it with my life coach right now. It's called kinesiology. Have you heard about that?
No, no, no. Tell me.
It's making your body answer for you. So it's like, you know how trauma is it's stored in the body. So this is something that it's a technique that helps you release from those emotions, release the emotions that is being trapped in your body. So what you would do, for example, in my case, I would stand up and then tell my body if my name is, for example, Sarah, that my body will go straight. If my name is Nura, my body is going to go left. If my name is Sarah, my body goes straight. So this is how I condition my body. And then I ask another question that I know that it's yes or no question.
Right.
Okay. And now it's done. Let's say, okay, I have a list of emotions that I want to release. So I ask myself, do I feel shame? My body says yes, for example. Do you allow me? I take permission. Do you allow me to release shame? My body leans forward. And then I say it 10 times firmly, I am no longer shamed. I'm no longer shamed. I'm no longer ashamed for 10 times. Then I ask my body, is the feeling still there? If yes, that means that there's another feeling tied up to this. If not, that means that where this feeling is stored, it's released. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to feel shame again. But this time you're going to deal with shame differently. This is something that I've been doing. And trust me, Crystal. The second day, I felt that I was rebooted. But it's beautiful because it's like basically gives you this leverage on yourself because you're more aware of yourself. And the more you're aware of the problem, half of the solution is knowing the problem. And it gives you like tools to control this. When you have a life coach, it gives you the tools. Others says that everything that happened to us in the past, it no longer affects our future. We are responsible about our future. Read the book. For example, there is a book called The Courage of Being Disliked. Beautiful book. So Adler, a psychologist and philosopher, said that you need to distance yourself from all this and write your own destiny and start being pragmatic about life and starting taking the right decisions based on right and wrong. So you should read the book. Amazing.
Yeah, I wrote it down. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, and the Aurelius philosophy as well. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's really amazing. So that helps a lot because it all talks about people's insecurities or whatever they did to harm us during our childhood or growing up, blah, blah, blah. It's their problem, not my problem. So that makes me not having any, I don't have any enemies in this world because I don't see the harm that they're doing, which is the correct way to go through life. Because when let's imagine ourselves as a ship, Crystal, in the sea, no matter how much water around the ship always floats. But once the water gets in, this is where you be sink. So this is the strength and endurance that we need to have to continue in this life. That's at least those are my philosophy because I do a lot of self-reflection.
I really do think that's important. And also, will the imposter syndrome ever go away? Or is it something that you give yourself space for it to show up sometimes? Or maybe it's every day. I don't know. But then you use these different tools and ways of feeding yourself, figuratively, to sit with the feelings.
So I made peace with all my demons. Going forward, I positively gaslight myself.
I like that. Positively gaslight.
Yeah. So for example, and this is something I've been doing, like I didn't understand that I've been doing long time ago because it's 2014. Because everything I hear, for example, you tell me I'm fat. I don't hear that I'm fat. I hear that you're worried about my health. That's such a wonderful person for worrying about my health. So that's basically gaslighting myself, but it's for my own benefit.
I love that.
If I thought that you hate me and you're telling me that I'm bad just for the sake of bullying me, then who's going to be the loser here?
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to react. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to feel self-conscious.
Right.
But if I rephrase it and feed myself positivity rather than negativity, then it's just words. I did not give it weight. We give words meaning. We give words weight. It's us. It's not them. So going forward, I will continue gaslighting myself positively and focus on my purpose in life, which is supporting people around me and being an inspirational leader. So if I want to be, this is something my mom told me. She's like, if you're not confident in yourself, how can you expect people to be confident in you? So I am gonna fake it until I make it.
You're not faking it.
No, but like in my mind,
Yeah.
like, you know. I'm gonna like in my script, in my the
Yes.
voice,
Okay.
I'm gonna fake it until the voice stops. Because I heard one time, or I read something one time, it's like the voice in your head, no one hears the voices in your head. The voice that tells you you're not enough, the voice that tells you remember this and that, nobody hears it. One of the reasons that we feel cautious around people or ashamed about people because we think that they know what we're thinking about. But they don't
know. They don't.
they cannot hear those thoughts. It's only you. So relax.
As my final question, what is the imposter script you are screwing today?
That's I'm not enough. I am enough and I am an achiever. And all right, I will show other ladies that we are not victims and we are not survivors because we're not competing with anything. The only person that we're competing with is ourselves.
Yeah.
And everyone is not perfect. My circumstances are different than your circumstances. So the best way to go on in life is to be a better person every day. So that's my script.
Thank you so much for this. I really do appreciate it. And I think we had such a great conversation. I think the listeners will really find value in in what you shared today. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so
You're
much.
most welcome. Have a good one. And I wish you best of luck in your podcast because you're a wonderful person. And I see with your kids, and I know that you're ambitious. So I would love to support you in any way.
This is the part of the show where we pause, reflect, and rewrite the script in real time. Because resilience isn't about powering through, it's about consciously choosing a different story. You know, imposter syndrome doesn't always sound loud. Sometimes it's just a whisper. We shrink, we overcompensate, we chase perfection, hoping it will finally hush the doubt. But here's what I've learned in my conversation today, and what I want you to know. That voice is not your truth. It's a script, one written by culture, conditioning, and the systems that were never designed for women like us to lead, to thrive, or to take up space with ease. So today, we rewrite. I'm not a fraud. I'm the real thing. I'm not lucky. I'm qualified, capable, and prepared. I do not need permission. I belong in every room I walk into. I don't need to prove. I just need to be. And on the days when doubt creeps in, and it will, I always come back to this. My worth is not up for negotiation. My voice is not a mistake. My presence is not accidental. This is your reminder to pause, to breathe, to trust that the woman you've become is not pretending. She's just arriving. So take up space, use your voice, own your story, and keep rewriting it on your own terms. Welcome to resilience. And as always, let's screw the script.
Don't forget to like, comment, and share it with a woman in your life who needs to hear she's already enough. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an unfiltered conversation. And if you've got a story to tell or want to be a guest on the show, DM me on Instagram or TikTok at @screwthescriptpod or email me at screwthescriptpod@gmail.com. Until next time, keep rewriting and let's screw the script together.